Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Bachelor live streams, post-show live streams. It's good to be back. How's everyone doing tonight? We've got a lot to talk about.
It is the most dramatic season ever.
That is definitely true, Chris Harrison. Definitely true. So, holy smokes, we had a 3-hour episode of The Bachelor to digest, including night one and just, a whole lot of stuff with Hannah Brown at the end there, which I have a lot of thoughts about. And I'll be honest with you, I was thinking about, well, as much as I can for the upcoming recap and everything like that, but and honestly, I was going to joke about this with how much Hannah we were seeing in the previews, that my final pick was going to be Hannah Brown for the season. I thought it might be a little cheeky thing I was going to throw in there, but I wasn't expecting this. Holy smokes. Now, that being said, first of all, we've got a new member to the to the Tinfoil Hat Club. If you haven't heard, we've got some new updates to the channel before we start off with all of the discussion and live chatting and everything like that. I've tried to up a little bit of the game, add a few things here, including memberships. So if you are a member, we have some things that we can do here, including, let me see if I can access them. I'm a member, so I can do it. Custom emojis and all that. The more members we get, the more people we can add to the group here. Think Story, thank you for joining. Think Story has been a valuable member to the community for a long time now. And a few little updates here. If you do a little super chat or anything like that, it's gonna have a notification as well. So we're trying to up the stream game a little bit as we get along. Try to give you some better streams here. But the big thing of the night was Hannah Brown.
I'm like befumbled. I mean, I don't know another word.
Yes. So Hannah Brown joining in technically two episodes, because we kind of got night one and a week two. And that is really the center of attention for the entire, as far as I'm concerned right now. So what the heck is going on with Hannah Brown? Here's the thing. So if you really think about how the people at The Bachelor are trying to structure a season, they start off the very first minute of what we see as a final rose ceremony, and Chris Harrison comes in and says the sort of stuff of, there's something you need to know before we continue, and Peter's kind of going crazy. And then we see so much Hannah Brown, and the tinfoil hat on me is wondering why. Why are we getting so much Hannah Brown and starting off the season with this final rose ceremony? There is a large part of me, the conspiracy theorist in me, that's wondering, are they trying to hint at Hannah Brown and Peter being a thing by the end of the season? Then from there, you think, well, they ended off this episode with Hannah Brown and Peter, kind of talking about their relationship and rehashing old wounds and all that. And you go, well, obviously, if Hannah and Peter were a thing, they would just ride off into the sunset, and that would be the end of the season. So, Frank, thank you so much for joining the Bachelor Fantake membership. First Impression Rose welcome. You get access to the emojis. The more members we get, the more emojis we're going to be adding. So I think it's a fun little thing. I've got a little thing here of some of the emojis that I've thrown in there. There's also a whole bunch. I have, if you join in, there's a membership video. If you do want to, and it's completely voluntary, the whole membership thing, it's totally just a bonus on top of the channel. Nothing's going to change with any of the videos. You can totally access everything for free. But if you want to support the channel, you can do that. Gain access to some emojis. It's just a completely bonus thing. There's also a members only chat. If you join the Discord, there's going to be a members only area, but it's completely voluntary. So yeah, JPJ, the JPJ emote. JPJ's still in fashion. He'll always be in fashion. Fancy Pants, thank you as well for joining. So yeah, I was getting back to Hannah and Peter, which is kind of the big cliffhanger that they left us off on. Oh, interesting. Someone said that this was filmed on the same night Hannah got low scores in Dancing with the Stars. So maybe she was feeling vulnerable that episode.
I'm like befumbled. I don't know another word.
Here's what I'm saying. This is one reason you don't have to worry about, or I don't know if you'd worry about this, but you don't have to think about, and thanks, Frank. I've been following you since you started with Colton season. I'm happy I'm not the only guy who loves The Bachelor. Absolutely. I think it's an insane thing that people, and I've heard this a lot since I've started the channel, that a guy, is so into The Bachelor. I think it's crazy. Because, at the end of the day, any movie has a love story in it, right? Like, you go to any action movie, there's a romance. You go to all the Marvel movies, the superhero movies, there's always a romance. Any video game, there are romance options and everything like that. Why can't, guys love romance just as much as anyone else. So, so back to Hannah and Peter. So one thing I can tell you for sure is that they're not going to rekindle right here. Next episode, they're not going to kind of rekindle. Hannah's not going to join in on the show. That's for sure. Because one, we know that Hannah Brown and Sarah, thank you as well for joining the membership. Welcome to the Tinfoil Hat Squad. Thanks for joining up. Welcome. Enjoy the emojis. Thanks for supporting the stream. So yeah, Hannah and Peter for the they're not going to get back together. Not right now. Because ABC needs their season. Right? So there's no way that they run off into the sunset and then there's just no show. ABC would never let that happen. Now, would they care if Hannah and Peter got back together at the very end of the show? No, as long as they get their episodes, they're cool with whatever happens, I think, as long as it's good TV. So this is what I've been curious about, and I don't know the answer, because this is just we've just watched the show. I'll watch it one more time and I'll review the season footage at least one or two more times before I really start to come to my conclusions for the videos. But the first minute of this episode, they include that final rose footage. That really kind of caught me off guard. And so I'm wondering what they're trying to tell. Because if you know what, like, if you've watched my video on how The Bachelor tries to tell you a story, it's one I did in the off season between Colton season and Hannah Brown season. If you've watched my how they pick the night one video, you'll understand that a lot of how I look at who is going to win the season is based off of, apart from the preview, well, it's based a lot on the previews and the night one episode, but it's also on an approach to how the editors are trying to tell a story. And Elena is not smart. Welcome to the membership club. Thanks for supporting the stream. Use those emojis. The more people that join in, again, I think emoji slots open up. That's what YouTube has. So well, as the season goes on, we're going to be adding more emojis. So I have these kind of basic ones set up here for now because they're pretty timeless. But we're going to add ones for people that are in the season as the season goes on, as we realize who the big players are. But yeah, so Hannah Brown, I don't know if we'll see her much again, but maybe what they're trying to hint at is that she could be coming back. That might be the story that they're trying to tell us. That being said, I don't know if the editors are trying to fake us out with this, but it's certainly interesting and it certainly makes for good TV. And Lovesla72, welcome to the membership. You get the first impression rose there. Yes. Also, okay. So I've been so distracted by the end of the episode. I forgot to mention a couple things. Thank you, Think Story, for mentioning this. This is a non-spoiler stream. Please don't post any spoilers. Also, we really only have a couple of other rules after that. Just be kind to each other, and that's about it. So let's just talk about this episode now. 3-hour episode, a lot going on. We've got our night one, and there certainly seemed to be one person who really took over the night, and that was definitely Hannah Ann. She seems to be someone who's in a lot of footage, a lot of previews, a lot of here, a lot of stuff happening tonight where Hannah was getting a lot of attention. And she also got the first impression rose. But here's the thing about Hannah Ann and the first impression rose. So Hannah Ann is certainly someone who I've clocked for a top 4 based on how much she's been in the previews and in this episode. But Hannah Ann has some weird energy. She definitely does. She definitely did a lot of things that are sometimes red flags in the episode. A lot of interruptions, a lot of villain-like behavior. And I can say one thing. Statistically, if you get the first impression rose on The Bachelor, this is not The Bachelorette, on just The Bachelor, you don't get the final rose. So, if you're thinking top 4, I could agree with you on that, but I'm not thinking final pick for Hannah Ann. It's just, no one who's ever gotten the first impression rose on The Bachelor has ever gone on to win. And, and if you're thinking Sean Lowe's season, that doesn't count because he handed out like 12 first impression rose. There was Madison, who had the first one-on-one of the season, and she met a lot of Peter's family. she was she's caught my eye, but it's hard to tell. I'm gonna have to look at the preview for the season and really start to make some final decisions on that, because they gave us a lot of juicy small details in the preview that they showed at the very beginning of the episode that might connect some of the dots that we've had from the preview that was shown before the season. So at this moment, it is Hannah Ann and Kelly. That's the girl Peter met at the hotel. Those are your picks. Yeah, Kelly, she really got in there. I'm getting a lot of so I don't know if you're feeling villain vibes from Kelly, but I think that Kelly's going to get a lot of flack in the house. She's going to be disliked by the other women, and that tends to be something that is troubling for anyone in the house, no matter how much you get along with the lead, because she's going to be inviting a lot of drama into her time there on the show. People are thinking Madison for the Bachelorette. Yeah, I could see it. I mean, I'm very weird. Here's one thing. Someone pointed out on Twitter that how often has the first date ever gone on to win the show? That's a statistic that I haven't really thought about or looked at. So I might have to look into that to see who on the previous seasons of The Bachelorette, The Bachelor, has ever gone on to win the show. Because we with this very little information that we have, we see, oh, they're making a connection. Madison has she's met the family, and there's all these things, and we're thinking, oh, well, that's someone we could see as the winner, but does that mean anything based in the context of past episodes? I don't know. I mean, obviously, the person who got the first, I believe it was the first date last season of The Bachelor, was Hannah Brown. Becca was Ari's first date. That's true. That's absolutely true. But you say I can only think of Becca. That's right. Maybe Becca's the one exception, because there are exceptions, obviously. But yeah, Hannah B. So hey, I just arrived. I'm just trying to figure out who Peter gave his first impression rose to. My mom hates the show, and I can watch it. Yeah, he gave it to Hannah Ann. Excuse me. So I think I have a picture here, but yeah, Hannah Ann got the first impression rose, which is usually the kiss of death. So yeah, but Becca didn't win, but you could argue that she didn't get. She won the show, but she didn't end up with him, I guess. The format of this first episode was by far better than Colton's. Yeah, I mean, I agree on that, because there were a lot of curveballs that I felt were thrown in this episode. Opinion on Natasha. So I've had strong opinions on Natasha going into the show. I still think she's going to do well, just based purely on the preview footage that we've had. But I don't think she's the final pick. And she's giving off... so they talk a lot about this like rats versus cats thing, and it seems to be that she's the sort of source of that. And I just ultimately think that that's just going to lead to her not winning. But yeah, no, this first episode certainly threw us for a loop, right? Opinion on Victoria F. I barely I don't know. She seems I didn't see much of her this episode, really at all. She kind of faded into the background. I did notice her in the preview at the very beginning. There was a shot that I've been looking at from the before the episode began preview that they sent out at the end of November, early December, and I saw that the person was actually Victoria F. So she does get a one-on-one later down the line. So I know she makes it further down the season. Will you do this after every episode? Yes, I'm going to be doing this after every episode. I'm going to be doing it once a week, post-show live chats after every episode. Talking about just getting the off-the-cuff response to the show and talking with viewers. Do you think it was unfair for Hannah B to say those things? Yes and no. So, do I think it's unfair? No, she should say those things, right? You know, she needs to like, you know, get that stuff off her chest, especially because she's been so brought into the show. That being said, it is kind of like, it's weird because he is, you know, obviously Peter's the Bachelor and he's got, you know, 20 some odd women there with him. So it is a bit strange. Strange is just the way I would talk about it. Will you save this live video, this live chat as a video when finished? Absolutely. All of the live chats are going to be automatically recorded and put onto the my YouTube channel every time. YouTube does it automatically. Yes, Hannah is not messing with Peter's head. I don't think she's trying to do anything. Certainly, I could see, you know, someone arguing that the producers are messing with both of them right now, but I don't think one or the other is trying to mess with the other. So Lexi and Sarah C opinions. Again, they were sort of middle of like so much of the episode seems to me like the people that I think of when I think of this episode are Hannah Ann, Madison, obviously from the one-on-one, Kelly because of the whole cheating shenanigan, and obviously Hannah Brown. And I feel like almost with how everything ended, if you're not those people, it's like your background. But I'm gonna watch the episode one more time and get back to that. And Fancy Pants, thank you for the super chat. So glad you're back. In your opinion, what are the chances that Hannah B comes back near the end of the season and steals Peter's heart? So here's the thing that is messing with me, because I'm so jaded by all of the fake outs that the people at The Bachelor do, that I'm worried that this is just going to be nothing, right? That that everything that they've done with Hannah Brown here by the halfway point of the season is going to be forgotten. But they keep teasing that this thing is going to happen at the very end, that the tinfoil hat in me can't help but wonder if that what they're trying to suggest is that at the very end of the season, Peter, you know, he comes down to a final 3, final 2, I don't know, who knows, and he rekindles something with Hannah, or I don't know. So that's what kind of has me going on, and it's hard to imagine that they would just mess with us that way with how big Hannah Brown is, but maybe they are just using how big of a year Hannah Brown has had with everything on Dancing with the Stars, and just, you know, trying to squeeze out as much as they can from that, which would really be really be lame. So, can you sleuth and find out when Hannah's Instagram post happened? Yeah, so a couple of people have mentioned there's a Hannah Instagram post, and I'm going to check that out. I'll definitely check that out before, or I can probably check that out right now, but definitely before I start posting more. So apparently Hannah had an Instagram post right now. I don't know. Let me just double check it. There's find your co-pilot. Enjoy the ride. I don't know. So yeah, it's I don't know. It's still very ambiguous at this point. That's it. Find your co-pilot. It's your turn. Which you could interpret as her kind of letting go, saying, you know, hey, that's not the one I wanted, but there are my social media handles. But it could be interpreted as her saying, go find your co-pilot amongst these other women. It could be, you know, I don't know. Here's the thing, though. Chris Harrison said in an interview that he would like Hannah B to be the Bachelorette again, so she doesn't end up with Peter at least. Yeah, fair point. But you could also, you know, say that Peter and Hannah do end up together, and that Chris Harrison is just saying that to kind of throw off the scent. You could also say that, you know, Chris Harrison is just saying that, and we don't know. Peter's ending up with no one, and that Hannah might come on at the after the final rose and be a thing. It could be an instance, again, like sort of what Hannah Brown had, where Peter ends up with no one at the end, and then on the after the final rose, he asks Hannah out. That could be a thing. For all we know, here's something that we do know, that the filming of The Bachelor has ended. So we know that he's either, 1, engaged to someone, 2, dating someone. He's chosen someone at the end. 3, he's chosen no one. And from that, we can, or 4, some kind of crazy other scenario, I don't even know, but from there, we can speculate, right? So possibly the reason why they've been setting up this whole Hannah Brown stuff is because they know that Peter ends up with no one, and that maybe he's planning on bringing Hannah back on the after the final rose and asking her out. Sort of like what Hannah did with Tyler. For all we know, though, Hannah Brown is brought in here just purely for the views. And that's it. And this is kind of just a scenario where they talk, it's good for dramatic viewership, and that's about it. And that's it. And they're just trying to get the views. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, you know, we can talk about how the editors are trying to build up people in your minds, trying to get you to like certain people, but the number one thing that they want more than anything is for you to come back and watch the next episode. That's it. Right? So it doesn't matter. They at the end of the day, really, you know, they couldn't care less as long as they get the view, right? I mean, they want to make a good TV show. They want to, you know, ultimately have a love story at the end of the day. But if they're going to get more views this way, you know, there you go. Can you imagine being engaged to Peter and watching him and Hannah on that episode? That would make me so uncomfortable. Yeah, I imagine that if you're engaged to them in any way, shape, or form, it's probably slightly uncomfortable at the very minimum watching any of these things. I think it's just a huge fake out. Yeah, I know. I at the end of the day, most likely it's just a huge fake out. Yeah, that's true. But there's the tinfoil hat part of me that just can't help it. Just can't help wonder. But yes, the convo felt really real. And at the end of the day, if you're thinking back to when they filmed that conversation and when they actually broke up, it was only like months, right? So there was probably a lot of real stuff going on. But, you know, maybe they're in it for round 5.
Are you ready for round 5?
Hannah has a ring. Check out her story. She has a ring on her finger. Let's see here. She has but okay, if you're looking at the one that says good times, table friends, that's her left hand though. So, do you think Peter finds love? That is a good question. So here's one of the things that there's been a lot of People magazine interviews with Chris Harrison and things that have popped up where he's talked about how unconventional this sort of ending is, and that's another thing that contributes to the conspiracy theorist in my mind. I know that Chris Harrison's like primary job is to compound interest in the show and get people excited about what's going to happen and say things like it's the most dramatic season ever.
It is the most dramatic season ever.
But and so you have to take it with a bit of a grain of salt, but maybe maybe this is what he's talking about, that something unusual happens at the end there. I mean, we are coming off of 2 seasons where unusual things have happened, so that's, we're getting used to it right now. Kelly was planted at the hotel to meet Peter. Absolutely. Peter made a good point about how she asked Tyler out before him. I agree with you there, and I agree that's a good point. And part of me, though, is thinking that, but there was some producer involvement in that. So I wonder if Hannah really, truly, if she had the option, would have chosen Peter instead. But it's also very hard not to imagine Hannah watching everyone's reactions to that season and not thinking very highly of Tyler, because people were like really gagging over Tyler during that season. Peter is still in love with Hannah. You can totally tell. I think they will bring Hannah back into the house for drama. I don't think they're going to bring her back into the house, because at the end of the day, ABC needs their season. They need you to watch this show. They need you to invest in all the women that are going to be on the show. They need you to invest in the final 4 and the final 2, and in hoping that he picks one of those 2. And then after that, they don't care if they pull the rug and Hannah comes in, but I don't think Hannah's going to be a contestant on the show. Also, it would just not work out with how she was on Dancing with the Stars at the same time they were filming. And do you think that Peter's mom was talking about Hannah B when she said, "Don't let her go, bring her back to us"? I mean, I can understand why you might think that based off of everything we've learned in this episode at the beginning, at the end, but it could be about anybody. Could be about anybody. I think watching it back, you can see Peter and Hannah had more chemistry than her and Tyler, probably. Probably. Plot twist: Hannah and Peter run off together, and Mike steps in as the Bachelor. Yeah, that would be a wild episode. Next episode. So I'm going to be coming close to an end on the stream here. It's going to be time to get up early. It's that time of year. Start working on the recap and preview breakdown video for the upcoming week. It's going to be the same schedule as normal. Tomorrow recap, Wednesday preview breakdown. We're not going to be changing anything there. And it's good to be back. Thanks for everyone who joined the membership crew, be sure to there should be on my community tab a members only post that I've put there. If you want to check that out, you can give me your Discord if you don't have that. Sign up for that. There's a link to that in the description. Sign up for that, and I'll start putting people into the members area of the Discord, where really all that you're accessing right now is you're supporting the channel, you're accessing custom emojis, and there's going to be community blasts that I'm going to send out, giving updates on things, heads up on things. But at the end of the day, nothing else is going to change for the channel. All of our, if you're just a regular viewer, nothing's going to change for you. And I'm super excited to be back doing the season. So excited to recap. There's a lot more to go through. I'm really excited to look further into the preview breakdown for the upcoming episode and really start dissecting that. And I've got a final four before I even went into the episode that I was thinking about, and that might change when I look at the preview again a few times. So, and Mrs. 88, Mrs. 88, are you getting any strong villain vibes yet? Yeah, and so here's one thing I do want to talk about before we go, is the changing of the nature of a villain on the show. Because there are villains, but I feel like it's not as black and white as it used to be. Like, for example, I felt that there were major villain vibes coming from Demi on Colton's season. But obviously she kind of rode the line of villain, not villain. Right? And there were villainous things about her, but there were also redeemable things about her. And by the end of Bachelor in Paradise, she wasn't a villain at all. So it's hard to say now. I think it's less obvious. Obviously, Hannah, Anne, even though she got the first impression rose, gave out some villain vibes with the amount of interruptions that she did. Kelly, I think, is one to watch because I feel like there's going to be a lot of women who don't like her, and that kind of festers drama in the house. I've seen in the previews and stuff, Kelsey seems to be saying, but that could be just her being, reacting as well. There's a few things. You could argue Savannah, Natasha. There's a few, but that really names that come up. But I don't have a pinpoint on absolutely one outright. Marissa is actually winning. I know. I was surprised. I was actually surprised when she left. I didn't have her in my top 4, but I definitely didn't have her in my night 1 eliminations, so I was surprised by that. So, thanks for everyone for joining in on this first live chat. If you want to check me out, if you don't already, on Twitter, Instagram, Discord, all of those links are in the description. We're going to be doing live streams once a week after every show. For this night, because it was a 3-hour, we're going to end it now. It might be a little bit longer in the future, but, Bachelor Fantake has to get up real early, start working on that recap video. So, it's been awesome talking to everybody. All the flight attendants didn't make it, that's true. Peter was determined not to have any flight attendants on this season. Thanks so much for joining us. Can't wait to start a new season with everybody. See you all next time. Until then, Bachelor Fantake out.